Hello and welcome everybody. This is Craig Klein with Sales Nexus. I appreciate you all joining us today. For those of you who don't know, I'm the founder and CEO of Sales Nexus, and today I'm pleased to be able to introduce you to Vic Rajan of Phone Blogger. He's going to show us some really great things, some really powerful tips and tricks for internet marketing. I think you're really going to like it. One quick note, and then I'll turn it over to Vic. We want this to be interactive, but because of the number of people participating, your mic will not be on. We won't hear you. So if you want to ask a question, we definitely want to hear from you, and I'll be keeping an eye on the question so we can respond quickly. If you'll notice, in the GoToWebinar control panel that came up when you logged on, you'll see where it says questions. If you hit the little plus sign there and expand that, you can type in your question there. And as I said, I'll be keeping an eye on it, and we'll prompt Vic, and he and I will respond as best as we can as we go. So definitely ask your questions that way. So with that being said, welcome, Vic. Thanks a lot for this opportunity.
Thank you, Greg. I'm really looking forward to sharing such apps and tricks for what we call speedy internet marketing with a good number of your customers here. And again, to reiterate what Craig said, very often when I'm doing such a presentation, I'm doing it live to a room full of folks, and I like the interactivity. So I feed off that. I want your questions. If there are points that you want me to make or ask about, please don't hesitate to type it out, and Craig will interrupt me accordingly. If not right away, it usually means that we will get to that point or that topic, and he's anticipating me answering that question. And hopefully at the end we will have a couple of minutes. We're scheduled for about an hour, so hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end to answer those questions that I didn't get to throughout the presentation. And of course, you can email me, vic@phoneblogger.net, for anything that we didn't get to or anything private that you didn't want everybody to hear the answer to. So maybe you're looking for some more secrets to speedy internet marketing. I want you guys to individually, since you can't really answer for me or to me, I want you individually to think about kind of where you are in the process of internet marketing in general, what your organization is doing, what your sales team is doing, and see one or two things that you can enact right away. To give you a little bit of background about who I am and my company, I'm a marketing advisor. I have a company called Practice Marketing and Practice Marketing Advisors. Our main market may be different from what your organization does. Our main market are boutique law firms and CPA practices. Marketing, however, is marketing. Came out with a book about 4 years ago called 365 Marketing Thumb Rules. It does cater to rainmakers and practitioners. However, it goes kind of through the do's and don'ts, rules of thumb of what practitioners, professionals in every type of sales and marketing capacity ought to do. It's more of a workbook. You can go to marketingthumbrules.com and kind of take a look at it, and it's kind of tied into the blog that we have. As you can tell from the name of Phone Blogger, obviously do a lot of blogging, and you'll get to know what phoneblogger.net does for our clients throughout it. This is not in any way a sales pitch, really. In fact, what we're going to end with is how you can actually use the phoneblogger.net process in your own company, but actually mimic it, so maybe you don't even need to use this at all. And essentially, we're a ghost marketing or ghost writing tool for our clients who are way too busy to sit down and do their own blogging or social media or email newsletters. We actually do it for them. We interview them over the telephone, ask them a couple of questions. It takes about 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most over the telephone, and we take those 10-minute discussions and turn it into text articles that are our clients' words in their personality, their expertise. With their approval, we then market it on their blog, website, their social media, and then using email platforms like Sales Nexus actually provides to you. So we can talk more about that and how you could actually even mimic that process a little bit later. First and foremost, here's the agenda. We're going to cover a lot in the next 50 minutes or so. First and foremost, we're going to share some pretty cool and neat tricks of the trade. It's stuff that we actually use internally at Phone Blogger, stuff that we make it efficient for us to do, where our clients tend not to be all that tech savvy, so we actually do it for them. Everything I'm going to show you is pretty simple to use. If you're able to check your email, it's going to be at your tech level. There's going to be definitely more advanced features that may be above your grade of technical capability, but with a little bit of experimentation and patience and taking a look at some help videos, etc., that the websites provide, you can figure it out. It's really easy. But again, if you have any questions, especially if you have experience with any of the apps and the tricks that I'm about to show you, if you have experience and you want to share your own tricks of the trade, definitely type it in, and Craig will be able to interject and hopefully even give you credit for that. And if there are any even competitors to what I'm showing you, then absolutely chime in, because I'm going to show you kind of what's out there and some of the dominant players. However, you can Google a lot of these aspects and see what we're doing. So I'm not going to literally read what the agenda is. You see it right here. Let's kind of jump right into it. First and foremost, let's take a step back before we actually talk about how to use it, kind of why to use it, and how can it actually impact your sales organization, your sales team, you as a sales professional, and sales for the company. I strongly believe in what social media can do, not because of how cool it is in the 21st century, that it's 2012 and all the kids are doing it, so we got to do it too. Quite the opposite. For me, social media is an extension of traditional marketing. It is the same old stuff, just repackaged. It's the same stuff that you're doing at trade conferences, at trade associations, at trade shows. It just happens to now be over the computer. It's a who knows who game. It's a people connecting people game. The more people that you know, the better. The more people who know you, the better. And it's not even about quantity of connections. It's the quality of those connections. So it's not about meeting 100 people at the next trade show or getting 100 leads at the next trade show. But if you can get the 10 of the right leads, that can make all the difference in the world, because it's all about ultimately your closing ratio. So we want to think about, from a closing ratio perspective and a time input perspective, what's the ROI from a social media perspective. Ultimately, we feel if you're out of sight, you're out of mind, you're out of those referrals and introductions. So it keeps you top of mind, insight in mind. And that's what social media is able to help us do. Affectionately, I call it word of mouth marketing, as a play on words, of course, because it is, again, people talking about you. And hopefully talking about you in a good way, and hopefully talking about you using the words that you want them to share, which is where blogging comes in. We'll talk literally about how to start a blog and how to do all that in a moment. But blogging essentially positions you as a published author on your own website as a resource. It positions you as an expert. It's the same way if you were to do a seminar on a topic. You're immediately seen as an expert, a know-it-all in your field, and you're sharing nuggets of knowledge more than pitching the next sale or pitching the next opportunity. You're really sharing a behind-the-scenes perspective of how it is your company fulfills the customer expectations. So if you can imagine all the frequently asked questions that your prospects are asking you, outside of price, outside of budget of time or money, but all the real bells and whistles and features and benefits, the more you're consultative in your sales process, the more blogging is a natural extension of it. You're blogging every day when you're answering those technical questions. You just don't know it yet. What we do at Phone Blogger is record those literally over the telephone and put it into text. You can do the same thing. It takes just a couple of minutes. A blog article is meant to be a half a page, about 400 or 500 words at most, about 5 minutes to read. It's meant to be conversational and colloquial. It's meant to sound the way you do. It's your personality, your expertise. Some people are a lot more statistical and numbers-driven and straight to the point. Others are more story-driven. Some are more humorous and sarcastic. It's really what your personality is. As you know, you don't click with everybody. Everybody doesn't click with you. You know, not everybody clicks with me. But obviously, the more we are who we are, without getting too touchy-feely, the more authentic we are in our voice, the more we're going to click with the right people, and that's what blogging enables us to do. Ultimately, from a marketing standpoint, the result comes in two ways. Not only in the prospects that you're getting from referral sources, but also in terms of how high up you're coming up when someone's searching for you, your company, or what your company does in terms of keywords or Google PageRank. Google PR stands for PageRank. It's literally what they call it. Or another phrase for that, or another version of it is SEO. It stands for Search Engine Optimization, which essentially is how high up you come up in Google, either literally your name, your company name, or when people are typing in the keywords searching for what you do. Blogging and social media inherently, in terms of a technical perspective, have very strong SEO features to it. Think of it as the aerodynamics of your website. If it's like a blog, and on blogging platforms, which we'll explore in a moment, it is more aerodynamic for Google. If it's a more old school website, much more difficult for you to update, well, most likely it's one of those gas guzzlers that don't give good mileage, and it's not all that aerodynamic from a Google perspective. You may like it for the sake of liking it, and you may not want to change it, and can't agree with you more, because honestly, the last thing you want to do is undertake a project that's not going to yield results. Launching a blog takes 5 minutes. It can match to your current website, help you boost SEO, help you boost your name recognition, and help you boost your referrals from your current sources, finding new ones from past clients and current clients. It enables them to share you and your expertise more effectively and efficiently. However, ultimately, email is still the most common denominator. It's why Sales Nexus not only helps you manage the sales process as a CRM, but integrates into it an email marketing platform. Because ultimately, as you know, nothing new here, email, you're being inundated in your inbox, you're getting all these newsletters from everyone else. Whether or not you're emailing your past clients, past projects, past leads, current clients, and referral sources is a real audit for you to consider. Because if you have a relationship with someone, if they forget you at the right time, all of that time, money, and effort that you put in to generating and building and nurturing that relationship just went down the toilet. And I'm sure every one of us as sales professionals have an example where we email someone or call someone and they say, "Ah, man, you should have called me just last month. We were just about to do something like that, but we ended up, we were just about to do something that, and someone else contacted us, and we went with that organization." And we feel horrible because we weren't in the right place at the right time. They forgot about us, shockingly, because we thought we made an impact, but they did. They forgot about us, and someone else had prospected them, or you didn't come up in their mind or in their Google search, and now they went with somebody else. And that's a real darn shame. So we're trying to prevent that, of course. Email is the easiest way of doing that, and it ties in right back into social media and blogging. And when we talk about social media, we're talking about the main platforms, what I call the top 4. Be Facebook for Business, which is different from your Facebook profiles. It's your Facebook business pages. Talking about your LinkedIn and your LinkedIn company page, as well as your LinkedIn profile, as well as Google+. Google+ is Google's social network. It's very similar to LinkedIn and Facebook. It's the new yellow pages of the internet is Google+. So if you don't know about it, you can Google it. I'm sure you'll find it. And then Twitter, of course. And it's really in that order. Now, there are a variety of other social networks. Your trade associations may even have their own social network and membership type of places for you to share blog articles, and they all work essentially the same. So for you to kind of think about as a personal audit, where are you in the universe? Right smack in the middle is a contact database. It's your email contacts. So if you're not collecting email addresses from your past clients, etc., that's a big issue to begin with. So it all kind of comes back down into email. But without belaboring this is a lot of what we just talked about. You got blog articles here up top. You got newsletters to the right-hand side. Status updates tied together the social media world. The top 4, as I talked about. SEO and pay-per-click is in the world of search engine marketing, which we're not going to talk too much about search engine marketing, which is kind of the world of paying to come up in Google. The pay-per-click or Google AdWords is part of the search engine marketing world. So SEM, search engine marketing, is an umbrella term. It includes search engine optimization, which is kind of the free context part of Google search results, as well as Google AdWords, pay-per-click. Not going to talk a lot about that. A lot of the SEO is going to be generated as a side effect. The better you do your blogging, your newsletter, and your status updates, the better your SEO will happen. It's a side effect, kind of like you're taking NyQuil and you get drowsy. It's not why you're taking NyQuil, but it'll be a fun side effect. So it'll help your search engine results there. However, all roads, in my opinion, lead to the interaction. If you're blogging, updating your Facebook business page, your LinkedIn, you're putting out your newsletter, etc., you're not getting the interaction back, be it in-person appointments or by phone or at least by email, then for me, in my opinion, from a sales and marketing perspective, it's all for naught. Sure, there's some brand building there's some reputation building there, but we want to focus on how to get a call to action. Someone actually taking action and calling you or emailing you and setting up an appointment to talk about the subject at hand. They may not be ready to talk about your product or your service right away, but it's a segue. It's an opportunity for them to whet their appetite. It's an opportunity for them to get an appetizer, so hopefully they're eating your entree. First and foremost comes your blog, your free website, your website, which you can launch for free. There's definitely value in paying thousands of dollars to have a custom website, and then there's even greater value about having a free website. Now, yes, it takes a little bit of technical knowledge, but honestly, it takes very minimal knowledge. You don't have to be a graphic designer or a HTML expert or a CSS expert or any of the jargon of website development anymore. You can literally go to WordPress.com and launch a website in about 5 minutes. You spend another half an hour, and it'll be good enough to show the public. You take maybe your weekend, your evening, you take a little bit of your sales and marketing time and invest into your logo, your headshot, your header from your website. You kind of add some more flavor to it, and it's going to be looking pretty cool and pretty good. And all of it is for free. Now, if you're going to go for the premium, upgraded, awesome, phenomenal version of WordPress, it'll be $100, period. $100 for all the bells and whistles. Now, WordPress is a phenomenal platform, which I can't really brag more about than, and I get no compensation from them because it's free. But it's a phenomenal platform that we launch all our clients on if they don't come to us already with the blog. There are aspects of WordPress where you can download it onto your own server and customize it that way. Unless you're a real IT geek or have an IT staff, I suggest not doing that. Instead, you can have a custom web address. It'll be yourcompany.com, and it'll shoot right over to the WordPress URL or domain name that they give you for free, and no one will be the wiser. It's actually really cool and simple. And if any of you already have a WordPress site and want to share your ideas and tips and tricks and stuff that you are annoyed even by WordPress, feel free to type in questions, and Craig will interrupt me as necessary. It also integrates very heavily with social media. WordPress sites automatically fashion itself for smartphones, iPhones, Androids, as well as for tablets like the iPad. It can immediately integrate everything with your Twitter and your Facebook and your LinkedIn, etc. So things really work very wonderfully with WordPress. Technically, internally at our company, we actually disable those things because we want a little bit more control than what it gives us. Anything that's automated, of course, you don't have full control over. So we purposely want to kind of have that control, so we're building the right type of brand for our clients. However, if you want to make something really simple and easy to use, you type a blog, you click publish, and within the day, it'll shoot out to your social media without really much effort on your side. Takes a little bit of setup, but essentially you give them your username and password. Everything's private and confidential. They plugs right into your Facebook business page or your LinkedIn, etc., and it all kind of works fairly seamlessly. I'm going to show you tools where you can have a little bit more control over it because you might actually appreciate the results a little bit better, as well as where if you don't have a blog, you're not going to be updating the blog often, then how do you actually use social media? I'll show you how in a moment. Another question that tends to come up is how often should you be blogging? The easiest answer is as often as your customers or prospective customers, prospective clients, and referral sources would want to read something from you, which probably means not every day, because if you emailed something to them every day or tweeted them every day, they very quickly not be your customers. And as you can imagine, if someone bothered you every day with tips and tricks about what they're doing, it's like, leave me alone. However, once a week is not a bad idea. However, for our clients, we tend to do it every other week or twice a month, which is sufficient. So even if you can only update your blog or your website once a month, that's fine. And you can pre-schedule it in WordPress. You can type out 10 blog articles, each being 2-3 paragraphs, and you set the date. Set it and forget it. So you can have it published on November 10th, then again on November 20th, then December 15th, and then again on January 20th, whatever date you want. You set it in, and automatically on that date, it'll appear live on the website. It'll notify you. It'll also push out to your social media. And it'll be pretty simple. So in that sense, you don't have to actively be blogging every week. You can schedule it, which is phenomenal, as you can imagine, because you take a weekend or you take an evening, you take a Monday morning, you're a little slow and you got time in your hands, have a couple of articles out real quick, and you'll be good to go for a couple of weeks at a time. So that's another handy trick of WordPress. You can also backdate articles. So if you meant to publish on the first Monday of every month, and now it's suddenly the second Wednesday, and you're like, oh man, I just forgot. You could write an article and backdate it, and of course, anyone who had checked it on Monday, it's not Back to the Future. However, from an archiving perspective, it'll still show the date of the first Monday of every month, for example, and this way you look consistent. Yes, sir.
Vic, I just wanted to interject for everybody's benefit. What you're saying about WordPress being easy is really true. It's so easy that literally nowadays, can't you sign up to like GoDaddy and other popular hosting service, to create your website, and basically when you're creating the website, you just click a button and it says install WordPress, and boom, it's already there, right?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great point, Craig. So, yeah, if you are launching a website hosted at GoDaddy, for example, GoDaddy's an example because they actually do it, but plenty of other hosting companies do it as well, kind of one-click installation. And there's a difference here, and without getting too technical, just to understand that there are two aspects or two types of WordPress. There's the free one, and they're all free, I should say, but there's the simple one that takes 5 minutes. You go to WordPress.com to do. And that's where it's hosted on WordPress's servers. I like that personally because WordPress is constantly coming out with new features and new versions. And if it's hosted on WordPress.com, it's automatically kept up to date. But there are some limitations in terms of how customized you can go, the variety of these third-party plugins. Essentially, WordPress can be anything you want it to be, from an inventory control system to a blog to an e-commerce engine. It's very multifaceted because of its open source aspect. So there are all these third-party plugins, which unfortunately does not work with WordPress.com. In order to extend it into all these customizable aspects where if you're dreaming of something, you may not be able to do it yourself. You might have to then engage either a company like ours or another website programmer where they can then install and configure the plugins. However, anything you're dreaming of, WordPress can do with some type of plugin that's already on the shelf and tested and simple for you to end up using after it's configured. That you need to have WordPress.org, which is the downloadable version of WordPress, and it downloads onto a server, which is what Craig was referencing, where a company like GoDaddy or another website hosting company would in one click kind of launch a hosted version of WordPress for you, and then it's up to you to customize it in terms of design and graphical elements and all these plugins, etc.
There's themes you can download and give it the format you like without have to do any of the back end stuff. It's just super easy. Heck, I did it once with my son, who at the time was 9 years old. He had something he was trying to do with some friends, and going through that process, I learned how to do it. Now he does it. He's 11 now. He does it on his own. It's that easy.
It is literally as easy for a 10 or 11-year-old to do, which probably doesn't come without much surprise, because these 10 or 11-year-olds can do a whole lot more than what even I can do. So sometimes it's kind of shameful and amazing at the same time. But literally, it is that easy. Without even getting too technical about it, I say if you don't have a website or you don't have a blog part of your website, go to WordPress.com. You can always download it onto a server like GoDaddy, etc., and play with themes. WordPress.com is about 250 themes that All of them are highly customizable through point and click. And then you could even engage graphic designers and website programmers, etc., to make it even cooler. And it does not need to look like a blog, whatever that means to you. A blog generally looks chronological and kind of has articles kind of chronologically ordered. Instead, it'll have a static website look to it where it looks like any other website. In fact, vast majority, or not vast majority, but a vast number of websites on the internet right now are powered by WordPress. You just may not know it yet. And over a period of time, they'll start getting to know how sites like WordPress. And there are competitors to WordPress, so by no means is WordPress the only one. They happen to be the dominant, freest, and most customizable. But there are other, if you type in kind of the letters CMS, not to be confused with CRM, but CMS stands for Content Management System. That's what a WordPress site is. So if you're able to log into your website right now with a username and password, it's probably built on a CMS platform, maybe even WordPress, or one of their competitors. And that's the first step. Without belaboring the point, you kind of need a home base for all this stuff that we're talking about. You need a place for where the full articles are. So you need a resource part of your website, which now that it's 2012, 2013, the resource part of your website where the knowledge articles are, the frequently asked questions part of your website are now all called by the word blog. So for you to be an author and blogging, you can do so by the end of the night. So it's pretty simple to do so. It's also even easier now with our smartphones to update your WordPress blog. Some of these other CMSs don't have apps for your phones and your tablets. WordPress does, of course. So WordPress for Android, for iOS. iOS is the operating system for iPhones and their iPads, etc. iOS. Fully functional, fully easy to use, so it's pretty cool. You can be blogging on the road, blogging while being on a webinar. Pretty cool. That's the first and foremost. Have a home base. You need someplace. Now, if you even want to skip that step and say, you know what, I don't have time to do all that blogging stuff. Obviously, Phone Blogger is there, but if you don't have time, you don't want to engage to do a whole blogging aspect, you can still be active in the social media world. You can still be enabling your contacts to learn from your experience and expertise. So just before I even go to add this, Craig asked by text chatting here, when you set up a WordPress.com blog, they will furnish you with the URL, a website domain name, and it'll be something like craigklein.wordpress.com. But then if you own craigklein.com, you can have craigklein.com automatically forward or map to craigklein.wordpress.com, and anyone typing in craigklein.com would automatically go to your website, so they would never know or see the WordPress-free web address that they gave. So yeah, your WordPress blog can be in addition to your website. If your website right now is very difficult to update, if you're always having to go to a webmaster, an IT guy who's really slow on the trigger, and it's really annoying to update your website right now because everything's really locked and difficult for you to use, this will give you the ability to literally update your website like writing an email. In fact, literally, they have an option where you will be able to email a special private email address, and anything you email to that email address will automatically be posted on your blog website. Now, you have to kind of play with the formatting and all that stuff. However, it's about 80%, maybe 75% good. You include images, include bold, underline, color things red, etc. All of that will then be on your WordPress blog. So you never really even have to log into WordPress. You just email that special private address that only you or your other team members know, and everyone's blogging by sending emails, essentially, to this email address. So it can be in addition to your website. If your website's really antiquated, it can be a replacement to your website, or it can be a link on your website to be the resource section of your website. So it can be whatever you want it to be. It's essentially it's a fully furnished room. Whether that fully furnished room is your whole apartment or just a room in your mansion, that's up to you. But it can be fully furnished and have an ensuite as well. Now it comes to sharing the content that's on your blog website, or if you're like me, you probably read a lot of emails, you get links to a lot of different newsletters, trade journals, you're always learning about your industry, about your product, as well as what's happening in your customers' worlds. So if you read a lot of trade journals that your customers are interested in because you're going to their trade shows and selling to them, so you need to know about their world, you're constantly on different websites that are sharing resources and knowledge very similar to blogs. They may actually even be blogs, but there's stuff that you're not writing. But if you're sharing it with people, then now you suddenly become an expert because you're the aggregator, you're the consolidator, the watershed of all this resource. So if you find yourself, it's kind of old school, taking a magazine article or a newspaper article, putting it in an envelope and mailing it to somebody with a special private note going, thought you might be interested in reading this, and it may be in support of your sales pitch, it might be some industry trend, it might be something else that's relevant to your customers. Well, they used to do that 20, 30 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, kind of the newspaper clippings and magazine article clippings. Now you may do it by forwarding articles to people by email. Same concept. We just now do it through social media. In addition to mailing it by postal mail and emailing it, you can now share it with people to your contacts on your Facebook business page, on your Google Plus page, as well as your LinkedIn page. Now I am skipping over a little bit of the setup of how to set all that up in terms of how to set up your LinkedIn, how to set up your Google Plus, how to set up your Facebook business page. However, I just want to say there is a separation between a profile and a page. With addthis.com/tools, and you can go there right now and kind of take a look at it, it basically gives you a one-click option to share it to either your profile or to your page. Well, what's the difference? Every one of these social media sites use that jargon, so it's kind of important to know. A Facebook profile is kind of like what your kids do. It's their personal profiles, what you're doing with your family and friends. They kind of talk about where Thanksgiving dinner is going to be this year. It's your Facebook profile. It's individual. Your Facebook page is for your business. Now, you may have some overlap between the two, but on your Facebook business page, as you can imagine, it's more business communication. Facebook profile is all your social, family, friends stuff. Same thing with LinkedIn. You have your LinkedIn profile. Now, LinkedIn happens to be professional. It's career-oriented, so it's a lot more professional. It's not as inane as, let's say, the Facebook and everyone sharing games and all that stuff. However, it's still your personal profile. Now comes the company page or the LinkedIn page. LinkedIn company pages prior to this month or even next month used to be practically useless, used to be awful, used to be a big proponent of Facebook business pages, but ironically not a proponent of LinkedIn company pages because they were not customizable. You couldn't update them with blog articles or video or any images or anything. You pretty much stayed there static, and it was kind of like, well, now that you set it up, you can't really do much with it, so let's go and do other stuff on LinkedIn, which is your LinkedIn profile and LinkedIn groups, which are like discussion forums, kind of like the trade shows or the trade associations of LinkedIn. But now, they just announced it about 2-3 weeks ago, so it hasn't really hit the market yet, but it will. They're having brand new versions of company pages, essentially mimicking what Facebook business pages are, and it's really by no surprise because they've been kind of behind in the times. So now you'll be able to update the company page of your LinkedIn organization, of your organization as an organization. Meaning, right now, if Craig Klein were to go on LinkedIn and post something, he'd do it on his profile. If he wanted to post it on the Sales Nexus company page, he couldn't, which is kind of silly. However, in the next couple of weeks, and it's really coming soon, he will be able to. So when there are new features and bells and whistles to the CRM platform that you know and love, he'll be able to post it on the LinkedIn company page. Likewise, all the new bells and whistles and cool stuff that's coming, not only about product benefits and features, but even the knowledge behind it, kind of why you do certain things. And we'll talk about other blog article ideas in a moment. You'll be able to post it on the company page. Same jargon applies to Google's network called Google Plus. If you haven't heard about Google Plus, don't worry. It actually came out in May. It's really an extension or a reiteration of what Google has had for about maybe 2 years now. And the way to think of it as, if you go into Google, you can do that right now while listening to me, and you type in a phrase, keyword about your product, about your industry, maybe about your name or your company name, a whole bunch of stuff is going to come up. Part of that most likely will be a map. And if you see a map, you'll see a whole bunch of pins on that map. This is extremely relevant if your company is very location-oriented. So if retail stores are important, professionals like law firms, CPA firms, any other that's very location-centric, Very important because you want to be, it's location, location, location. You want to be on the map. Regardless, even if, if you're not location-centric, people like to know who they're doing business with, where you're located, are you for real, are you legit? They're doing their window shopping and their background research on you, your company. So they want to know that you have a real location and that you're for real. So coming up on a map is never a bad thing. So literally, Google Maps started having these pins, and then they started having these profile pages, so they very quickly came out with Google Places. So if you remember Google Places from last year, they basically took Google Places and decided to create a network around it called Google+. So the Google Places pages are slowly transforming into Google+. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, no problem. Just go to plus.google.com and you will. It's essentially Google's way of trying to catch up to Facebook and to LinkedIn. And honestly, when Google Plus was announced, we poo-pooed it. We laughed at them. We said, you know what, here's a Me Too player in an already crowded, saturated world. However, it does have, conveniently enough, the word Google in front of it, so it's taking off. Google Plus is trying not to be the next social network. It's trying not to compete with Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. They're trying to have their own space, and quite honestly, they do. Because if someone tries to think about your product or your service or what you offer your customers, they're not thinking about going to Facebook and searching for that. That just doesn't sound right. If you think about right now, if you want to look for a product or for a company, the concept isn't to go to Facebook to look for it, or even to LinkedIn. You might, if you're looking for a professional, you want to know a colleague who knows someone, maybe you go to LinkedIn because you want to know who knows who. But by and large, you're probably going to Google it. Well, if you Google it, these Google Plus pages come up. And they come up right underneath the ads for free, above all the search engine optimized pages, all this stuff. I'm sure you're getting tons of telemarketing phone calls and email spam from people who say, hey, we can get your company to the top of Google. We can get you on the first page of Google. Well, you know what? You can get your stuff on the first page of Google right now. Create a Google Plus page. It's quite ridiculous about all the stuff that people are doing to get you on the first page of Google. Honestly, it's a spy versus spy, cat versus mouse game. It's like trying to beat the Las Vegas house. And quite honestly, you can get away with it for a little bit, but if you keep trying to beat the house and you keep getting successful at beating the house, they're going to take you in the back and they're going to beat you. That's exactly what Google's doing. So all that whole multi-million-dollar cottage industry right now is aimed at manipulating Google's algorithm, trying to figure out how Google gets you to the top of Google. Well, they're successful. They're honestly successful for short term. Unfortunately, it's hard for them to sustain it because Google's always changing their algorithm because they want to be a spy versus spy. They're trying to figure out, it's like the counterfeiting game. They're always trying to figure out how the hackers are trying to figure them out. Now, legitimately, they're going to do some legitimate good stuff, which we don't have time to talk about, but a lot of that legitimate stuff are the byproduct of blogging and social media. So it's very similar to, we know all the fad diets out there, but we know if we eat right and exercise right, by and large, we're going to stay in shape and get in shape. And it may not sound sexy and snazzy, but unfortunately, that stuff works. So when it comes to blogging and social media, that stuff works when it helps you from Google search results. Moreover, you can cheat the whole system by using Google Plus pages. Type plus.google.com and take a look at it. So now once you set up your Facebook business page and your LinkedIn page and your Google Plus page and your Twitter profile, they don't really have Twitter pages yet, but most likely they will. Well, how do you share stuff there? Well, go to addthis.com/tools. You can do that right now or you can do it later. You'll be able to install essentially what they call a bookmarklet for folks in the Apple, Mac, and Safari world, or a browser extension or a toolbar that's actually pretty convenient. Hopefully you don't have tons of toolbars right now on your Internet Explorer and all that free crap that comes by downloading free software and stuff that's kind of crowding all your browser. Preferably use a really neat browser like Firefox or Chrome. Internet Explorer is always kind of behind the times for the past couple of years. It's a real shame, but it's true. But AddThis works with any browser that you use, from Safari to Explorer to Chrome or Firefox. So pick a browser and go with it. And it won't even be a crowded toolbar. In fact, if you can imagine on the left-hand side, this image, I'm not sure if my mouse even shows up, but if you can imagine right here where it says quick sharing on the left-hand side, and right above it, it'll be a plus sign. Well, when you install into Chrome, it'll look like this. When you install into Firefox, it'll look like this. It'll be very similar when you install it into Microsoft Explorer. It'll be a plus sign. And what you'll be able to see is essentially when you click the plus sign on any website that you're on, you click it and it'll drop down a whole bunch of social media options, all of which are customizable. And if you're already logged into Facebook or to LinkedIn, it's one click. If you're not logged in, it'll prompt you to log in. And until you log out, you're always logged in. So it's actually really convenient. It's the way we promote our clients. We work with many different clients, so we have to do is kind of always monitor where we're logged in, etc. But for you, it's going to be really easy. Go to addthis.com/tools, and it takes like a matter of seconds. It won't clog up your computer. There's no spam. There's no malware. There's no crap part of it. It's not going to slow down your computer at all. 100% for free. Their main business is actually providing this type of a tool for website developers. But for those of us who are not website developers and you just want to share content, so you're reading an article in a trade journal and you want to clip it and forward it over to all your LinkedIn contacts, or you want to email it to just a bunch of your clients and contacts. You click the plus sign and it'll prompt you to email, and it'll open up either your Outlook or your Gmail or AOL, whatever email you want. You send it in one click. Now, could you copy and paste the website address and go to your Outlook and paste it? Yeah, you can. But honestly, that whole thing maybe takes 15 seconds, 30 seconds. But believe it or not, it's the 15 or 30 seconds that's preventing us from doing it in the first place. So instead, it takes 1 second. And you do that a couple of times. You save 30 seconds here and there. You've now saved a couple of minutes, and now you're starting to do it over a course of a week. You saved yourself a good hour. And quite honestly, you're able to recapture an hour every week, and that's the time that it takes to blog. So very simply, you can find an hour to do your blogging if you use AddThis. It's a really convenient tool, really simple to use. Once you install it, you click Options, you click the plus sign, and you click Options, and you can choose the social media that you work with. For me, honestly, I'm really more into Facebook for social and friends and family. I'm into LinkedIn more as my career, my business, and I use Google Plus in between as it's growing in popularity. So it's a really convenient tool, and I highly suggest using it because we do it for our clients. It's also an Android app. They don't really have one for iPhone. iPhone tends to kind of have their own versions of how to automatically share to Facebook, etc. For those of us who use Android phones, I have an Android phone. You're kind of used to knowing that you have to really customize it much more than an iPhone. So in that sense, it may not be as user-friendly. But you can install, you go to Google Play, which is kind of our version of iTunes, and you go to, you just type in AddThis. Pops right up. Again, another free app. It enables you to, if you're surfing on your phone or your tablet on a website, you read an article from anything from New York Times to CNN to a trade journal. As long as it's available on the internet for free because you're reading it without having to log in or pay for something, you can share it. Now, even if you have to pay for it, you can try to share it, but it'll prompt them to log in. So if they're not a member of that website, like a Wall Street Journal or some type of website where you have to log in and pay for it, they're not going to be able to read it. But at least they'll be able to read a snippet of it and then maybe go through a paywall, as they call it. Next concept is kind of scheduling aspects. It's called pre-scheduling, but it's the same concept of scheduling. You can schedule blog articles, as I said, through WordPress really simply. You can have a lot more control over sharing every random article you're reading in a matter of seconds using AddThis. This was literally a screenshot of my website browser, Chrome, so you can see my little AddThis right there. And I use it all the time. It's really the way I'm active on LinkedIn and Facebook. So if you ever connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll see all my stuff where I'm not posting stuff literally every day, but maybe every other day. And it's really stuff that I'm reading. Obviously, social media and blogging is my world. Marketing in general is my world. So the stuff I share is around that stuff. But what you share is going to be around your expertise and around what your company does or what your customers are interested in. So you're going to be sharing it accordingly. Hootsuite, from your usage perspective, is free. You can always sign up for a ridiculously expensive aspect of $10 a month. And it literally is the dominant player for the world of managing and pre-scheduling your social media. So in this world, WordPress is the dominant player of blog platforms. AddThis is the dominant player in terms of the sharing utility. There are other competitors to AddThis. For example, there's ShareThis.com. So you can check out Share This. It works very similar to Add This. And in the world of social media management, you'll hear about Hootsuite all the time. It is the most powerful. It can get a little difficult to use in terms of how many features there are. However, I want to show you just one aspect of it. Before I even get to that, they have all sorts of apps, free apps for your Google stuff and in your iPhone stuff, so you can take a look at that. But if you want a one-click way of managing all of this, and this is going to be for someone who's starting to really get into things. So this kind of a screenshot that you're seeing is a real active user. Essentially what it's doing is aggregating your whole social media world into one screen. It can be a little overwhelming if you're not really comfortable with what you're doing. So I would say go to YouTube and learn about Twitter, learn about Google+, learn about what you can do with LinkedIn, learn about what you can do, and maybe we'll even do future webinars on these topics if you're not familiar already. So learn about that stuff. It's kind of beyond what we're talking about today. But here what Hootsuite is able to do is kind of give you a dashboard. More than this dashboard that you're staring at right now, which is kind of pulling all the stuff that would be in your Twitter, in your LinkedIn, in your Facebook, as well as your Google+, it brings it all in one place. They use a 3-panel way. If you see there's a left hand, a middle, and a right hand. Oh, sorry. Let's go back to this. They have a competitor called Gremlin that I accidentally went to. Gremlin uses amazingly a very similar tri-panel aspect that you're able to kind of move around and shift around and essentially create yourself a dashboard, a pilot-type dashboard of all these social media sites that you're on. Quite honestly, it might be even a little too much, but the one aspect of Hootsuite that I like the most is the fact that you can schedule stuff. So you can kind of type in, 7 tweets and then schedule it for it to hit Twitter once a day, or Facebook, or LinkedIn, etc. So if you're looking at all the people that are out there really active on all these social media sites, like, how do they have time for all this stuff? Well, they probably don't have active prime time to really do it, because prime time of business hours, maybe you ought to be on the phones, meeting with people face-to-face, doing presentations, calling on people, answering questions from customers and prospects. It's not the time for you to be hanging out on Facebook, business, or LinkedIn. That time is after time. It's maybe before work, after work, or the 7 a.m. hour, the 7 p.m. hour. But prime time ought to be in traditional, tried and true sales and marketing efforts. All this other stuff ought to be other time. It's not necessarily the best time to start tweeting because people are active on these sites during prime time. So at the 7 a.m. hour and the 7 p.m. hour is a great time for you to dedicate some scheduling. So for you to write out 10 tips about your product, 10 tips about your industry, 10 trends that are happening in your industry or in your client's world around your product, those 10 tips can be scheduled to hit LinkedIn or Facebook or your website once a week. And you've got content now that you're sharing that's valuable and not pitching, that's already scheduled and programmed, and you kind of set it and forget it, and you're pretty good to go. So if you have any questions about Hootsuite, there's a lot of bells and whistles in terms of analytics and metrics, a lot of different things that you can learn and really sink your teeth into Hootsuite. They have some really great videos on the website in terms of how to use it. It's actually relatively simple to use, but the reason I say it's overkill is because if you're not doing much right now, you're going from barely knowing how to ride a motorcycle to doing a real Harley cruiser, and it might be a little too powerful for you, and it just won't be fun. So I would suggest if you're not doing anything right now, obviously get your setup done and then start using things like Add This, because at least then you'll start getting into the swing of things, and then when you start seeing, all right, this is what I can share this type of articles, I can share these types of blog articles that I'm writing, then you kind of get into that groove, and you've got followers on LinkedIn, you're part of LinkedIn groups, you're kind of checking out what's happening on Twitter, you're kind of getting into the motion of it. Then Hootsuite becomes really powerful in terms of managing all these relationships that you're having online. But keep it real, keep it simple, keep it focused. It's not quantity of what you do, it's the quality of what you do. You're not trying to reach 15,000 followers. We're not Ashton Kutcher here. Who cares that you've got thousands of followers on Twitter? It's meaningless unless those 15,000 people are people who know you personally or are interested in your product. And there are ways of using Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn to get to the people who may be interested in your product. And we'll talk about that maybe on a different webinar altogether. So ask any questions and we'll move on. Again, Gremlin, very similar price points. Again, another free option. It's just a competitor, kind of like share this versus add this. It's personal preference. Gremlin versus Hootsuite, personal preference. But it's a pretty neat opportunity for you to schedule messages, which is really kind of how I see the value of it. Now, there are other companies out there that help you kind of pre-schedule or program or schedule messages. They all work pretty much the same way. The issue, of course, is you have to come up with content of what to share, and we'll talk about that in a couple of moments. Now, I'd like to ask Craig, actually, to kind of chime in. One of the coolest features of having a CRM with Sales Nexus is that not only does it help you with your pipeline of your leads, but also helps you stay in contact with your leads, stay in contact with past leads, past relationships, current customers, quite frankly, anyone that is involved in your sales and marketing process. And that's really an advantage of the e-newsletter campaigns that Sales Nexus is able to provide. But before Craig talks, he did shoot me over a question that I'd like to read out loud and then answer. How do we measure quality over quantity that I mentioned earlier? In essence, how do you develop a relationship with someone who has recently liked your page personally rather than another status update or a blog? It's a great question. First and foremost, when we're fashioning, when we do it for our clients, or as well as teaching best practices to our clients as well as to you guys, not only do you not want to make it a pitch, you want to make it informative and educational, you also want there to be some type of call to action or a takeaway that they're able to enable right away. So something that they could do. A way for them to prompt, a prompt for them to forward to somebody else, or a reason for them to comment on your blog article or comment on your post, be it through LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., or at the very least click like, which is kind of a pat on the back, a thumbs up, figuratively, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google's version of a thumbs up is a +1. So it's kind of their like option is +1ing it. The personal relationship is the same way that you would develop a personal relationship, let's say at a trade show. If you were at a trade show talking to a bunch of people who came by your booth, and someone kind of gave you a thumbs up because you said something that resonated with him, or he kind of gave you a smile because, or a nod because it resonated with him, and he agrees with what you're saying, or maybe he disagrees with what you're saying, and he's kind of interrupting and saying, actually, I disagree, and he's kind of giving a different perspective outside of the hecklers. The opportunity really is to kind of take a moment and exchange business cards, share contact information, so you can kind of take it offline at a different opportunity, and really email one-on-one. That's why I say email is the most common denominator. It comes back to emailing. So one great thing about WordPress blogs, to talk about that for a moment, is that when someone comments on your articles on WordPress, it won't appear live. So if you're saying anything that's controversial or negative or something, disagreement, or even a praise, but just poorly written, for example, it won't appear live until you accept it to appear live. Now that is a setting that you have to toggle. It's called comment moderation. So you want to moderate the comments so that it doesn't appear live. Unfortunately, WordPress has it by default that comments do appear live. So we always have to toggle it to moderate it, because like any other website or email inbox, you're going to get spam on your WordPress blog website. It happens. It happens to your inbox. It'll happen to your LinkedIn and your Facebook. I mean, spam is what it is. And I mean like just kind of profane spam and stuff, So it'll be annoying, but you'll moderate it and you'll get over it. To answer this question specifically, when someone likes a post of yours or comments to a post of yours, be it on your website, your blog, your social media, it's an opportunity for you to engage with them one-on-one. Now, at the very least, you're engaging with them publicly by answering their question, by reiterating what they're saying. If they're disagreeing with you in an intelligent way, they have a different perspective, it's an opportunity for you to have a conversation. If they're disagreeing with you on a valiant point, that means other people out there have that same sentiment. And it's an opportunity for you to actually bring it up and actually overcome that objection or overcome that perspective on a public platform. It's very similar to kind of bringing up an objection on your own during a sales process. Well, bring it up because you know it's going through their mind anyway. And if you shy away from it, well, you're only doing yourself a disservice because it'll rear its ugly head sometime. And maybe they'll never vocalize it, but they'll just kind of not take your phone calls after a while because ultimately you didn't overcome that objection. So you may as well vocalize it. So either someone likes it from a positive standpoint or gives you a slightly negative or objection perspective, it's an opportunity for you to engage with them either one-on-one publicly or one-on-one privately, and that's essentially by emailing them. LinkedIn calls it an in-mail, and you can shoot them a private message right on LinkedIn. You can shoot them a private message right on Facebook. Obviously, on your blog, you make it a requirement for them to give their email address so that when they comment on you, it gives an opportunity for you to email right back, and that's an opportunity. It's the same concept that I'm sure Craig can talk about in Sales Nexus. That I'm sure it'll give you a variety of metrics where if you have their email address and they're responding to your newsletter, it's an opportunity for you to engage with them one-on-one and nurture that relationship. And maybe at this point, they're practically a stranger. They're an acquaintance. Maybe you met them last year. Maybe you've never met them. Maybe they kind of came to you through a colleague, or they saw you in a LinkedIn group, saw you on a Facebook page, maybe saw you at a trade show and just kind of connected with you. You don't really know who they are. But here's an opportunity for you to turn a cyber stranger into a real-life relationship that can lead to business relatively quickly. So turning to the common denominator of email, which I believe is the beginning of it all. With your email database that may right now be trapped in your Gmail, etc., you can now activate it through a CRM like Sales Nexus and go that much further with this email platform, this email campaign platform. Can you chime in, Craig, about
Sure.
The bells and whistles, the features and benefits?
Yeah, I mean, you're making a lot of great points, and I think the key here is once you get started with creating all of this content, whether it's simply, once a week you're doing a blog article, and then you're starting to share some things maybe that you read elsewhere, like you were showing with Add This, but you're one way or the other, you're aggregating or creating content that hopefully is interesting to your audience, then that's great fodder for your emails, right? So, in a very simplistic way, you could just have a simple campaign for new leads, existing customers, whatever's appropriate, that sends them an invitation to check out your latest blog article, and you send it out maybe a couple times a month or something like that. But I think to the earlier question, you could also do a lot of things where somebody likes you on Facebook or gets engaged with you on Twitter or LinkedIn, like you were talking about, Vic. Then maybe you want to send them, kind of as a, hey, nice to meet you, here's a little something from me. Thought you might find this article interesting, right? And you send them over to your blog, and maybe on your blog it asks them to sign up, opt in for your newsletter, etc. One thing that I really think is important as you're kind of working this funnel, right? You're getting people engaged with your content at the very highest part of the funnel, and now you want to deepen that relationship. You want to give them options, because not everybody's ready to get, intimate, quote unquote, right? But you don't want to scare them away. So one of the things you can do in Sales Nexus is you can manage more than one list. You can have different opt-in lists. And so you may want to send them a welcome email just saying, hey, thanks for checking out our blog or signing up for our newsletter or whatever it is. And, oh, by the way, we're going to be sending you a few emails, whatever your schedule is, right? Let them know what you're going to be doing. And if you'd rather not receive those, then click the, unsubscribe button down below, or the manage preferences or manage subscriptions, and you can choose your preferences. And that way they can opt out of, say, your, marketing emails, but not opt out of your emails about new blog articles and things like that. So giving them options can help them stay engaged, but only on the level that they choose.
And how can people Are people able to schedule their email campaigns, or is it live? Or what kind of options do they have there?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, like I say, you could, um, heck, you could go buy a list of, potential customers, right? And load them into the system and schedule a campaign that's going to send them an email once a week for the next 6 months. And it's, set it and forget it. Kind of like what you were talking about with Hootsuite, right? Um, or as they come in and sign up to your newsletter, that kind of campaign can automatically click on.
And in terms of kind of seeing who clicked on what kind of reports am I able to see through the Sales Nexus email campaign? What am I able to see in terms of what they're doing on the other end, a reader is doing on the other end?
Sure, yeah. It'll show you, who opens the email and who clicks on a link within the email. And the other thing that's really nice is you can set it up so that not only can you go see that in a report where you see a list of everyone that clicked on the link, for instance, but you can also set it up so that it sends you an alert in the form of a task in our system for those of you who use Sales Nexus. So you're sitting there, going through your call list, let's say, during the day, and all of a sudden on your task list pops up an alert saying, hey, this guy just clicked on the link in your email. So you could literally respond to him right then and there. Hey, I saw you just took a look at the whatchamacallit, So that can be a really powerful prospecting technique. In fact, I'll take this opportunity to let everybody know we're going to be launching a new training program on email marketing where we're going to cover two different really important topics. One is how to develop how to decide what to write about, when you're blogging or writing white papers and things like that. And then secondly, how to use that content as your email campaign that pre-qualifies leads. So your salespeople can just sit there and call the people that are downloading the report or reading the blog article or whatever it is. So we're going to be launching that in December. And so look forward to some invitations from us to participate in that.
That one feature, I'll reiterate, the concept of being able to see who opens what or who clicks on what in your email is, in my opinion, the most powerful and coolest aspect of doing an email campaign through Sales Nexus. It is an opportunity for you as the sender of the email to really see who's interested in what. If you can imagine sending a really simple email, simple newsletter of maybe 2 or 3 blog articles that you wrote, or it's a combination of ones that other people have wrote, but it's a link to even their website, or maybe you excerpt it on your website with a link and credit and all that legal stuff, and properly quoted them and gave a link back to their full website, but you just want to make reference on your blog, which you're allowed to do. And it gives you a peek into what they're interested in. It gives you a peek into maybe a feature or a type of product or a frustration that they may be having because of the title or the topic of that article, be it on your blog or somebody else's website. And now you're able to have a real poignant conversation specifically about that feature or about that frustration, about that need, about that desire, because you've gained insight into what they're going through, because they're obviously interested in it because they clicked on it. And they are like you. They are getting hundreds of emails every day, and they are deleting 90% of it. So if they did not delete yours because they know you, and more importantly, they actually took a couple of minutes out of their busy schedule to click on something you sent them, that is amazing. That is the value of a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah, that's a great point. The way you said it, you're getting some insight into what they care about.
Correct. And quite honestly, you're able to really kind of target the one-on-one. Now, I know we're obviously running late. It's about an hour in right now. I tend to talk a mile a minute anyway. From what Craig tells me, we are recording this right now. So advantages, if you're running late, of course, get to what you need to do. If you're able to stay, awesome, because we're going to share a couple more things with you. Regardless, hopefully you don't have to feverishly take notes on everything, because you're going to be able to watch this as a YouTube video at some point in the future. It'll be on the Sales Nexus website. This way, at that point, you can take feverish notes and, more importantly, actually start using some of the stuff that we're sharing with you. So we're going to race through some of the other stuff. So if you're able to share with us, we're a little over time right now, but hopefully this is some valuable stuff for you to improve. So I'm going to skip over some things like this, for example, which is a way for you to schedule Outlook messages if you use Outlook. You may not need really to use Outlook if you use Sales Nexus the right way, but it might be your dominant email platform nonetheless. And if you wanted to kind of schedule emails privately, it doesn't really do what Sales Nexus does from an e-newsletter standpoint. Quite honestly, if you're using Outlook to do an e-blast, stop, because you're actually breaking the law. There are specific anti-spam laws out there. It's called the Can-Spam Act. It's a congressional law of the land that prevents you from spamming people and also from getting spam from others. And believe it or not, because of all the spam that we're getting from people, there is a law out there. And there are a couple of things that all e-blasts have to have that's automatically built into the Sales Nexus platform. And that aspect that Craig talked about is unsubscribing from a list. So you have to give people an opportunity and an ability to unsubscribe automatically off your list. Now, they still may just email you and say, hey, take me off your list, and you have to do it manually, but they can do it automatically using Sales Nexus, and legally you have to provide that type of a feature. With Outlook, there is no ability to do that. So if you're sending out an Outlook message to a couple of dozen or 100 or 1,000 people, which Outlook really doesn't allow you to do, it's a real pain in the neck if you ever try to blast to a couple of 100 people. It's really annoying. You're not really allowed to do that legally. However, a one-on-one email, you might still use Outlook, and you want to schedule it, where as a tickler system, you ought to do that really using Sales Nexus, honestly. However, if you're doing some other kind of private email, there's a way of doing it. Knock yourself out. Here's the link for it. If you don't want to type that, write that link down right here. Email me and I'll send you this link. It's pretty easy to do, but it's even easier to do using Gmail. It won't take a lot of time. The concept is there. You pretty much type out an email. You click the option of send later. You pick when you want to send it, and again, it's very simple to do. And it's really private one-on-one emails. It's not a replacement of your email newsletter or email campaigns. It's really private one-on-one email if you happen to use Gmail as your primary email system. And that might be helpful for anyone that's outside of your CRM right now. Boomerang installs into your Gmail. It's free. It's simple. It's easy to do. They've got videos on how to do it. Knock yourself out. And, of course, they're helping you share them as well, of course. Moving on to content, because content is king. Content is what it's about. Content is really your opportunity to share your expertise. You can use Add This to share other people's content. You can also use Add This to share your own content. So what are you going to be talking about? Just noticed a typo, so forgive me. But first and foremost, what you're going to be blogging about is your frequently asked questions. Questions that your prospective clients, your current clients, and referral sources and colleagues are asking you. It's the stuff that you discuss in the consultative sales process that you're turning into short blog articles, a couple of paragraphs each. You can even get personal and share your turning points in your career, your business, kind of how you got to where you are or how you came about this feature. Client success stories are all kind of blog article opportunities. Now, for those of you who don't know about google.com/alerts, Google Alerts is essentially a reverse search engine. It's going to search out the stuff that you put in, that you plug in into keywords. You go to this web address, you type in those keywords, and they'll email you results on a periodic basis. And you tell them how often. It could be right away, once a day, once a week. Go for it. So what kind of keywords do you want Google to alert you on in terms of when it finds blog articles or videos or books about it, or preferably news, because that's what makes you sound like an expert? Well, I call it VIPP. VIPP are very important people or products. So you could type in celebrities in your industries, authors in your industries, maybe competitors in your industry, names of the types of products and services that you offer, organizations like trade organizations, other governmental agencies, etc. I also say esoteric acronyms. Now you got to be careful what you type in. If you use a very common word, you're going to get all sorts of results. So be esoteric, be very specific, use jargon in your industry, because if someone's using that jargon, well, they're talking about your field, they're talking about your category, they're talking about your industry. And here's an opportunity. Google's feeding you all these articles. Now, maybe half of them are not going to be all that helpful. If you click news, they're all going to be news-oriented websites. So it'll be CNN, New York Times, credentialed news organizations, not the random blogs or random people who may not be blogging intelligently. So you get the news item, you check it out, you go, hey, this is pretty cool. And what do? You click the plus sign of add this and shoot it off to your contacts through your social media. It takes literally seconds to do. It's part of your email process. Again, it doesn't need to be prime time. It's 7 a.m., 7 p.m. work, and it's pretty cool. To come up with your own blog article ideas, we help our clients brainstorm ideas. We use a blog article brainstormer. Literally, these 21 questions, we kind of play 21 questions with our clients, and we come up with tons of ideas for our clients. I don't have the time right now, in fact, to really go through every one of the questions, but you could read it for yourself. Or email me, and I'll shoot you over a printable copy. It's really useful for you when you're thinking about coming up with blog article ideas. And from what I understand, Sales Nexus is going to even help you come up with blog article ideas. I know we're running short on time, Craig, but can you spend a couple of seconds or a minute to talk about what you're planning on doing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a great list of questions, so I would encourage everybody to get in touch with Vic and get a copy of this list. But what we're going to be doing in our course that I mentioned earlier is covering how to identify the most common pains, quote unquote, that your target audience suffers from that your product and service can address, and using that as topics to write about.
Which is great. The top 2 or 3 concerns, for example, is on this list, or a couple of other things that you're going to be able to see. My personal favorite, more than number 18 of telling me a client success story, is actually number 21, tell me an anti-success story, meaning I'm sure you've had the opportunity of saying, I told you so, to a customer, or maybe a past customer, but to actually say, I told you so, because they didn't take your advice, or they didn't actually use your product, or didn't go with your company, maybe a little crass. It may not behoove the sales process for you to rub it in their face. Well, you're able to rub it in their face using your blog. So it's an opportunity to talk about the learning lessons of, hey, so-and-so type of person checked our product out, but they instead went with XYZ company, and it didn't really work out so well. Now, you don't have to be that crass. Quite honestly, I prefer not to put down anyone else, and so you probably don't want to put down your competition. But there are learning lessons. There are opportunities and ways for you to spin it, where instead of you sounding like a know-it-all or sounding like you're rubbing it in someone's face, it's still an opportunity to kind of share that, hey, sometimes as a consultative sales professional, your agenda may be to close a sale, but you also do mean well by your customers. You mean well by your prospective clients, and you're giving them good advice. And while the benefit may be a commission, it may be a sale for your company, it's still nonetheless the right move for that prospect, for that customer. And I'm sure if it weren't the right move, you probably would also tell them that maybe now isn't the good time or the right time to choose your product, and maybe they ought to go with something different until they're ready for what you have to offer. Well, if someone doesn't listen to you and kind of does something different, it's an I told you so moment. It's a learning opportunity for you. It's a learning opportunity for your customer who ought to have taken your advice. But it's also a learning lesson for your prospective clients and prospective customers, as well as your referral sources. So take a look at this list, and Craig's got some pretty cool stuff up his sleeve in terms of seeing this. And I noticed another typo. Man, this is awful. I'm sorry for misspelling your company name, Craig. I know we're running out of time, but I'm shocked that I didn't notice that before.
That's all right.
All right. People misspell my name and mispronounce my name all the time, so it happens. Moving on. As you know, this is all the stuff that we do for our customers, but honestly, nothing we do for our clients you can't do on your own. All the kind of cool apps and tricks that we do use internally, I shared with you. So it takes a little bit of time for you to figure it out. It takes a little bit of your time to do it, but using the right types of sales habits leads to the right sales results. Likewise, by developing the right social media and blogging habits will lead to the right marketing results, top of the funnel results, to help you with turning them into opportunities within the Sales Nexus CRM. First and foremost, what you want to do is set up all this stuff. It's pretty simple to do. It's a point-and-click opportunity for you to do it. If you have an assistant, if you have an opportunity to do it with somebody else, it's always better than for you to do it with yourself. I've noticed that if you set an appointment with yourself to do something, a lot of people tend to break appointments with themselves. But if they have an appointment with an assistant, appointment with a partner, appointment with somebody else, by and large, we all tend to keep those appointments. So if you have an appointment with somebody else, even if it's your assistant, your manager, someone else on your team or your sales team, a peer, it's an opportunity for you to kind of do it together. It's a lot more fun, a lot more interactive, and again, you can stay accountable to actually doing it. It's like having a running buddy. You actually will wake up 6 a.m. and do it. Here you'll wake up 7 a.m. and actually come up with blog article ideas. In about a half an hour, you can come up with about 4 or 5 topics using that blog brainstormer on the other screen. You can then schedule a weekly time for you and this colleague, this peer, your assistant, staffer, another team member, and kind of literally do what we did. Now, there are plenty of dictation apps for your iPhone. There are plenty of stuff that you can do on your computer to record yourself. The reason I say that is because once you have that recording, that dictation, you can hand it off to someone else. You can hand it off to your assistant. There are plenty of transcribers out on the internet. You can find them on Craigslist. You can go all over the place. There'll be people who will take your audio and transcribe it into an article. Now, you might have to do some editing. Hopefully, they'll do it for you, but you might have to massage it a lot more, kind of change around the flow, but they can do it for you. And then finally, you approve it. I mean, it's really that simple. What we created at Phone Blogger was nothing new. We had to figure it out for our customers and our clients. We've now brought it into a recipe, but it's nothing that you can't do on your own. Finally, once you approve it, your assistant, a staffer, another team member, you can kind of do it as a committee. You can take that and essentially add it to your blog, add a copyright-approved image. Don't just steal images off of Google. You should, and you can buy images for about 50 cents. You go to depositphotos.com. It's kind of like a coin deposit and photos, depositphotos.com. It's another really cool website. Again, we use internally. You do have to pay for the images, but then you're legally allowed to use them. 50 cents usually, maybe $1 at most to use these images. Huge millions and millions of images available to you instead of kind of grabbing those random images off of Google, which technically is against copyright laws, and you can get yourself into trouble that way. No reason to do that. Pay 50 cents and do it the right way. Add the meta tags, and meta tags, without going into a lot of detail, is what the search engines use to read your articles properly. You need to know a little bit of technical programming, but it's pretty simple. HTML formatting, kind of creating links, adding images, adding some flavor in terms of bold, underline, bullet points, etc. You use add this, share it off to your sales, share it off to your social media, go over to Sales Nexus, create excerpts of your blog, send it out as an email campaign, and it's pretty simple. Obviously, you could do it yourself. You could have a staffer do it for you. You could have an assistant do it for you. You can create a committee, a part of your sales team right now. You can kind of jive with your sales manager even and kind of have these kind of powwow sessions where you're coming up with the ideas and kind of make it a fun experience. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. It takes maybe about an hour or two a week. Now, if you don't have an hour or two a week, we can do it for you. So yeah, here comes the sales pitch. Yeah, we can do it for you. Honestly, you can do it inside and internally, and I do mean that. However, honestly, we boil it down to about 10 minutes for our clients once a week. So if it's well worth it for you to carve out 1 to 2 hours a week to do all this stuff on your own time, do it. It's really like taking your own time to go to the gym and go work out for half an hour every day and do it. Now, if you know honestly you're not going to take the half hour to go to the gym on your own, you hire a fitness trainer who's going to kick your butt, blow the whistle, and actually make you do the push-ups. Essentially, we do that for you, except we're actually doing the push-ups for you. So it's kind of pretty cool. We prioritize what we brainstorm into a publishing schedule so that we know where things are happening and when things are happening. It's a really simple thing for you. You can do it yourself. You can use things like Hootsuite, etc., to create a publishing schedule or to pre-program those blogs. And we do it internally. You could even use Excel and do it quite simply. Now, when we do it for our clients, there are blogging best practices that we want to follow that really help from an SEO perspective, search engine perspective, as well as help colleagues recommend you more easily and forward your articles to others. There are the correct etiquette of social media that we want to follow. You can read about it. You can maybe we'll do another webinar on the social media etiquette. And obviously we want to follow that properly so that you have a good reputation out there. And of course, we'd be happy to kind of even use Sales Nexus on your behalf under your name to send out the email campaigns simply, quickly, efficiently, so that if you don't have the time to even do the tips and apps to do speedy internet marketing, we'd be happy to do it for you. Again, final offer to those of you who are Sales Nexus customers is if you're wondering if your company, if your sales team can grow the referrals and word-of-mouth marketing from blogging, social media, and the email campaigns, come talk to us. I'd be happy to customize what we just talked about in the past hour, a little bit more than an hour, and kind of spend half an hour with you over the phone, taking a look at your website, taking a look at what you set up already, all the different pages that you've got. Show it to me, and I'd be happy to kind of give you suggestions of how you can use these apps and tricks on your own. And of course, I'd be happy to kind of demonstrate how Phone Blogger can be part of your sales and marketing process. Feel free to email me. Here's my cell phone. We'll be happy to schedule some time to talk about it. I know we're over time, but there's always room for cookies, and there's always room for questions.
Real quick, I just want to emphasize here for everybody. First of all, thank you, Vic. This has really been great. I learned a few things, and I'm sure everybody on the webinar today learned a lot. Like Vic pointed out, we're going to post the recording on YouTube, and you'll get an email tomorrow with a link to that recording, as well as the slides. And I just wanted to say, based on what I know, enough to be dangerous about search engine optimization and so on, what Vic said a minute ago about Google Plus and the things that have changed in the way Google is ranking things nowadays, blogging and creating meaningful content is absolutely the name of the game. And Vic's company, PhoneBlogger.net, has a really cool solution that I highly encourage you to check out, because it just makes it so easy. I mean, I totally understand. You know you should be blogging, or if you already have a blog, you know you should be doing it more often, but you're busy, and it's tough to find time. It's tough to make it happen. Vic's solution is a great one. It just makes it so easy. So definitely check it out.
I appreciate it. We kind of made it really easy for people to window shop and kind of go to PhoneBlogger.net and kind of watch some videos and really kind of go through the process and see how it could really benefit your customers and people even So if you're not at that point ready, and you know even someone who's blogging but kind of does it here and there, and is getting way too busy to do all this stuff, or just isn't promoting it the right way with your social media, or not doing it by email, I'd be happy to hear from them as well. And so, of course, we grow through word-of-mouth referrals and introductions. In fact, that's how Craig and I met, through a mutual colleague. So thank you again, Craig, for the opportunity to share this stuff and the tricks and the apps with your customers. I'm looking forward to kind of hearing how they're able to implement it towards their sales success.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Vic, again, and thanks everybody for joining us, and hope you all have a great afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. And like I said before, we'll be sending you links to the slides and the recording here in the next 24 hours. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Vic.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.